Are you thinking of moving to Portland, Oregon? Well, before you make that move, there are some things that you really need to know, and they're not always what you might expect. On the surface, Portland is known for its lush parks, quirky vibes, and bike lanes galore, but there are a few surprises waiting that might just catch you off guard. So getting the full picture now could make the difference between loving or regretting your decision. Stick around because I'm gonna be breaking down the 7 things that no one tells you before moving to Portland, and a few of these might just change your mind. So I guess we gotta just start right off with the weather. How's the weather in Portland? Well, it might not be what you're used to if you're living in a place like Los Angeles where it's just beautiful and warm and sunny most of the year, but it's also not necessarily like somewhere extreme like the Midwest, I don't know, Chicago or even Alaska, for example. It remains pretty mild, so you can expect definitely 4 seasons, but it's gonna be more mild throughout the year. You know, you're not gonna have crazy month-long snowstorms, and you're also not gonna have crazy month-long heat waves. Though those things do happen. Sometimes we get triple digits weather, but that's not gonna last very long. Same thing with the extreme winter weather. What you can expect is quite a bit of rain, but not as much as you might think. We get about 150 rainy days throughout the year, but a lot of times that just counts as a drizzle while everyone was asleep, and then, you know, it's just like this for the rest of the day. This, for the record, is the middle of October, so we're pretty deep into the fall. It's just kind of a chilly but sunny October day. This place is incredible for food. There's so many different types of great food cuisine, whether you want to stop by a food cart pod. They're usually like parking lot that get leased out to several different food carts, which are just kind of like food trucks, but they don't really move around. Or we've got fancy restaurants. There's a lot of seafood inspired places, bakeries. There's even some incredible pizza places. Yeah, Portland is turning into a pretty big pizza city, believe it or not. And another thing, there are laws in Portland, in all of Oregon actually, that require bars to sell food as long as they are selling alcohol, which is a pretty cool thing. So that just means that most places, even if it's after hours, after midnight, you're going to be able to find a full menu with food as well as drinks. And it's not just going to be your typical bar food. A lot of places here in Portland take those bar food menus very seriously, so you can expect really good food. When I moved here from LA, I was concerned, genuinely concerned that I wasn't gonna find good Mexican food, but don't listen to what anyone says. If you're reading threads that says that Portland doesn't have good Mexican food, just hit me up and I will steer you in the right direction. Whatever you're looking for, there is definitely some amazing food. Another thing about living in Portland is it's pretty laid back city, you know? Like if you're used to living in somewhere like New York City where it's all just hustle and bustle, or even LA or the Bay Area, it's all pretty like densely populated and people are just moving and going all the time. Here, it's pretty laid back. There's a higher priority, I think, to stop and smell the flowers, literally and figuratively. In the springtime, you're gonna wanna smell the flowers, I promise you. Or just stop and sit down and drink some coffee. It's just a slower pace of life here, and for some people that might be a con, some people that might be a pro. So just something to be aware of. You're not gonna see a lot of business people walking around the streets. So if you're looking to kind of, I don't know, slow things down a bit, take your time, you might like it in Portland. Another thing that needs to be mentioned, of course, is the homeless crisis. It's a major problem, you know, and I think this is something that doesn't just affect Portland. I think it's a major crisis all over the country. And believe it or not, the city is doing something every day. There's tons of organizations that are working to help this problem from the government and from third-party perspectives. There are certain areas in the city where it's prone to be an issue more so than others. It's something that you might see and have to deal with if you're living in Portland. Comment down below what the homeless problem is like in your city and what types of actions that your city is doing to combat it. Also, I will leave a video link down in the description of another video that I made that is solely about this issue, and I dive deep into the ins and outs of why it's happening and what exactly the city is doing to help it. Now, the cost of living in Portland is definitely something that might be relative, depending on where you're coming from. So if you're coming from on the East Coast, like New York City, Portland is going to seem pretty cheap to you. We don't have sales tax, so when you sit down at a restaurant, but when it comes to real estate prices, Portland is significantly lower than all of those cities that I mentioned before. So if you're looking to buy a home, definitely consider Portland because the median home price is almost half. And before we move on, if you're thinking of moving here to Portland and you want to buy a house, I would absolutely love to help with that. People are finding these videos all the time and they contact me via call, text, email, and even booking Zoom calls, and I absolutely love it. And so I've helped tons of people buy their perfect dream home here in Portland. So please don't be shy. I'd love to hear from you. So looking forward to it. Now, another thing to know, like I mentioned before in the intro, is that this is one of the best bike cities in the whole country. So if you like to get around on bike, man, this is like gonna be heaven for you, especially on the east side of town. I'm currently in a neighborhood called Multnomah Village, which is in southwest Portland. And while yes, there are lots of bike lanes here, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult to bike around, more difficult than it is on the east side, just because of the topography. I mean, there are a lot of hills here, and also you're gonna see a lot more busy streets, kind of like this. I mean, I don't know, maybe this isn't a super busy street for you. I mean, it's no Pico Olympic Boulevard like in LA, but I'll put a little bit of B-roll on the screen to show you just the contrast of what it looks like on the east side. If you are looking to bike around, there's what we call neighborhood greenways, which are quiet residential streets that are dedicated mostly just for bicycles and also local traffic, but they're very low traffic streets, which make it super easy and safe to bike around. And lastly on the list is just the diversity of neighborhoods. That's definitely something I didn't fully realize until I moved to Portland. I did not know how many different neighborhoods there are here and how quaint they are. You know, most of the neighborhoods here, like this one, this is Multnomah Village. This is kind of like the downtown area of Multnomah Village. All of the neighborhoods here have this little downtown area where you can walk around and go to different shops and restaurants and stuff like that. And then just 1 or 2 blocks over, you have the quiet residential streets with all the housing. There are, I think, something like 94, 95 different neighborhoods in Portland alone, not to mention all of the surrounding suburbs for you to check out if you're looking for something a little bit more suburby. But there's so many different neighborhoods that range in all different price ranges. Like you could find a house for, believe it or not, in the 300s range. And then there's other neighborhoods more in the $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 price range, even above $1 million. So there's pretty much a neighborhood for everyone. And the good thing is that they all have kind of this little quaint little walkable area. I did make another video where I toured to probably over 25 different neighborhoods all over Portland. So you're gonna wanna check that one out right here. Click here next. And thanks for watching. We'll see you over there.